Today on 16-Bit Game Review,
I fight some robots. I fight some more robots. And finally, I fight an even bigger robot. Hello and welcome! The Nintendo DS is home to many great games like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Pokemon Diamond, Pokemon Soul Silver, and Pokemon White. And if you think that the DS is just home to Pokemon games, you're not entirely wrong. It's just my DS collection that's full of mostly Pokemon games. My collection also has some other games like New Super Mario Bros. DS, Lego Star Wars. I'll deal with you later. And of course, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is Star Wars Episode 3. It was the last Star Wars film to be directed by George Lucas and was the least hated of the prequels. This is also Star Wars Episode 3, made for the DS by Ubisoft and was released 9 days before the actual film was released. The only real difference between the video game and the movie, minus the obvious, is that one is just a prequel, whereas the other is a prequel that lets you beat things up. I personally think that the video game is a little bit better than the movie, because the movie, its highlight points were the battle scenes, where things were blowing up, people were dying, and or it was a very serious moment, where there wasn't a lot of dialogue. The video game, I believe, understood that, and cut a lot of the dialogue down, and made the combat the focus. So, you get to experience the battles without it turning into a Star Wars Battlefront game, which I think is absolutely spectacular. The other thing that it does is it can actually split apart the main characters. So you can follow a branching storyline where you just follow Obi-Wan if you prefer Obi-Wan, or you can go and follow Anakin if you want to go and see what his story is like. It gives you options and a lot of control over said options, so it feels a little bit better than watching the actual movie, where the only control you have is to pause it. The difficulty really depends on who you're playing as, rather than what difficulty you selected at the beginning of the game. Obi-Wan, I find, is the easier of the two, just because he has a special attack where he can recover health. Anakin, on the other hand, only has the ability to recover force power, so you have to be extremely aggressive. You cannot be defensive with him, which is very bad when a lot of the enemies require a lot of hits and a lot of defensive measures in order to beat. Anakin is the harder of the two, but he's still a blast to play when you just ignore your own personal safety and just destroy everything on screen. Star Wars Episode 3 is an absolutely gorgeous game, and that's because the game decided to use 2D sprite artwork rather than going what everyone else was doing, which was 3D. You see, in the early lifespan of the DS, a lot of game developers tried to make exclusively 3D games on the system, and it hurt a lot of the earlier games because everything looked like crap, a bunch of pixelated 3D objects which made not a lot of sense. Star Wars Episode 3 kept it 2D, partly because it was a Game Boy Advance port, and partly because when it did eventually use 3D, it used it sparingly, making these sections a nice break from the monotony of beating up the same enemies over and over and over again, which honestly just makes this game very, very pleasant to play and to look at. The controls of Star Wars Episode 3 are quite complicated if you just use the buttons, because in order to pull off some of the special maneuvers, you have to hold and press some pretty weird combination of buttons. However, the DS version made it a little bit simpler by adding in the secondary touchscreen as a quick select for these special moves, which makes the controls a lot better. So, if you're debating between the Game Boy Advance version or the DS version would be a little bit better because it has better controls. The soundtrack is also the other reason why you should switch from the Game Boy Advance version to the DS. Just listen to the Duel of Fates and tell me which one is better. Star Wars Episode 3 is quite honestly a very well done game and quite a unique game, especially for the Nintendo DS. It quite honestly feels like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4's cheaper, quite younger cousin that's not very well known. I honestly love it, and I say it's definitely worth the very low price tag that most people are asking for it. If you want a good beat-em-up game for your Nintendo DS or 3DS, this one is definitely worth your time. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please check out the annotations below for more videos or stuff that we have been doing, and check the cards as well. Please like and or dislike the video if you liked it or disliked it, and leave a comment if you have anything you want to say. I will most likely respond. As well, if you want to see more videos from us, please subscribe, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. We do stuff there from time to time. Anyways, thank you for watching.